Greetings. So, first off top, let's get this clear from the jump. In life, you're always going to be negotiating. Okay? Life is all about negotiations. Those who understand that automatically put themselves at an advantage. Those who don't understand that, who don't believe that, put yourself at a severe disadvantage, right? The greatest negotiators, the kings, the CEOs, the power players, they all understand one truth. I'm just going to go ahead and get right into it. Leverage is everything. Never negotiate from a place of desperation. Always negotiate from a place of strength because the greatest weapon any negotiator has is the ability to simply walk away. So we'll say that over everything. Now, talking about your leverage points, you have again strength over desperation. The worst thing you can do is make yourself seem desperate because when the other guy smells blood, then you're dead. You're dead in the water. That's not just business. That's strategy for life, for war. Never operate from a place of desperation. The moment someone senses you need something, that's when they have the leverage. That's when the leverage shifts. So the greatest thing in negotiations is leverage. And the greatest negotiators never chase. They attract. They create. They create multiple options. So they're never concerned, right? They have alternatives. Jesus the Christ was a master negotiator because he knew how to ask questions. And even he said, be wise as serpents, harmless as doves. He praised the shrewd businessman when he was about to lose his job. And some people may look at that illustration of him writing off people's debts. Go read the Bible. Um, and people may look at the shrewd businessman writing off debt and um, collecting for his boss. May look at that as unethical, as a form of cheating. But there's a reason why Jesus praised it because the people of the world, is kind of paraphrasing, the people of the world who are not of the kingdom, who are not about righteousness, they understand the principles, they understand the strategies, they understand these things better than the people who are of the kingdom, who are about righteousness, who can actually use these strategies, these models of thought for good, for the greater good of humanity. People who are not as prone to be thinking about the greater good, the righteousness, the kingdom, they understand these things. And so it's incumbent upon us uh, to learn these things, right? Exercise our wisdom strategically. Wisdom is the ability to recognize the difference in any situation, apply knowledge to certain circumstances, knowing when to speak, when to stay silent, knowing when to step up and when to walk away, right? That's wisdom. And we need to apply, us who are about the kingdom need to apply this wisdom strategically and shrewdly. Information, right? Information is leverage. A king never goes into battle without scouting the terrain. A CEO never walks into a negotiation without knowing every player at the table and everything that comes into play. Uh, you create your leverage. You can use your leverage and create it. And the only way you're going to make the deal you want is if you're, again, coming from a position of strength, um, and can convince the other side that you have something that they need. That's why kings and CEOs start gathering information long before they actually need it. They study the people, the politics, the patterns. They collect data long before the moment of decision comes. Every detail becomes a potential point of leverage. And this is, you know, I believe there's a proverb that says, "He who answers a matter before he hears it, it is folly and shame to him." And so I think about that. He who answers a matter before he hears it, it is folly and shame to him. That speaks to acting before you have all the information, before you have everything you need to act accordingly. In other words, don't speak before you know the facts. The wise, the prudent gather information before they negotiate terms. And then going back to Jesus Christ, and if you want to really study the art of questioning, right? Study Jesus, how he asked questions, answer questions with questions. The master negotiator doesn't argue, he asks, because every answer reveals information. And information is what? Leverage. When you ask the right question in the right tone, in the right order, you can uncover what someone truly fears, what their true fears are, what their true motivations are, or what they want to gain the most. And that's when you have the leverage, and that's when the negotiations shift. The Apostle Paul, he models this perfectly in the book of Philemon. Someone told me that a long time ago, a mentor told me to read Philemon in the Bible for a master class on negotiation. And it took me, I read Philemon probably 30, 40, 50 times before it finally snapped to me what he was saying. And in Philemon, Paul, the apostle, he's asking a slave owner to receive his runaway slave. Um, he's asking to receive him back, not as property, but as a brother. But you got to notice there's nuances to how Paul negotiates. He doesn't demand, he appeals. He frames it, you know, he frames it relationally, respectfully, and from a place of moral authority, right? He says, therefore, I might be very bold in Christ to command you what is fitting, yet for love's sake, I rather appeal to you. And that really spoke out to me. He said, for love's sake, I rather appeal to you. So, right. So he's teaching a divine negotiation principle. Can't always win by force. Sometimes you have to win by influence, by making the other person want to agree. And practice this often with my associates, with my employees, right? You want to make them want to agree. And that's at that's at the art of um, persuasion over pressure, right? And speaks to also patience, right? Strategy, patience, and the power to walk away. Great negotiators are patient hunters. They know when to wait, when to speak, and again when to walk away. Um, I believe in Luke it says something like, king what king going to war does not first consider whether he is able to with 10,000 or to meet with 20,000. No, yeah, it talks to preparation, understanding, um, to count the cost before you commit, right? And then prepare a fallback plan before the first sword is drawn. Because, walking away is not weakness, it's wisdom. And that's the mindset of a king, right? Negotiating at its core is not manipulation, it's mastery. It's about knowing your value. Kings know their value, and they're confident in that. And when you know your value, your leverage, your mission, that's always going to be your leverage point. Um, it's quite simple. Aim high, and then um, have the conviction and the clarity. Um, and like the word says, commit your works to the Lord, and your thoughts will be established. Right? Because we don't. A true king doesn't negotiate for selfish gain. Right? We're about the kingdom. We're about the furthering of our kingdom and the kingdom that affects everyone else, right? Because for kingdom impact, that way we can truly exercise our wisdom with discipline, with faith, and um, and in a manner that is harmonious and advantageous for the greater good of most of the community and the expansion of that at large. So anyway, saying a whole bunch. Negotiation, right? So let's break it back, bring it all together. CEOs, kings, power players, leaders um, understand the mindset about negotiations, not just tactics. We can talk about different tactics at a different time, but understand the mindset. Know your leverage, master your information, ask the right questions, be patient, and be willing to walk away. It's really that simple. And above all, negotiate from strength and not from desperation or need. Because let's be clear, kings don't beg. Kings prepare, kings persuade, and kings always have a plan, even when they walk away from the table. So that's all I have for you today. Peace and blessings.